Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2019. It's the third day of Steelers Training Camp 2019. It is Sunday night. It is 6:45 in Las Vegas. That means it's 9:45 just outside of Pittsburgh where Alex Kozora is. Alex, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, Dave. The pads were on today. Great weather, great, I think, spirited day of practice. I mean, there was just so much to talk about.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks, judging by the Twitter machine, you got your money's worth today, and you didn't even have to spend anything to get your money's worth. So that's
that's my kind of day.
That's a heck of a deal there. All right, a lot too. I mean, it really, judging by the length of your report and all that's in it, we have a lot to get to today. So where do you want to start? Do you want to go through the position groups and then go to the backs on backers drills and all those kind of things, or do you want to start first and with the drills and all?
Well, we can do that, but let's start with the injury report. We should probably get to that to kick things off.
Let's get the housekeeping out of the way there. Ben Roethlisberger and Maurkice Pouncey and Mark Barron all seemingly were giving veteran days off. We know for sure that Ben and Pouncey was, and it certainly made it. Tomlin made it sound like Mark Barron was given veteran days off as well too. Tomlin explained how he's going to have. How he has a plan in place to give those veterans rotating days off and all. We already know Ben's schedule. It's going to be like 1.5 days and then a day off kind of thing. I would probably expect Maurkice Pouncey to be right there with him.
Yep.
The whole way here, and that makes the most sense here. We'll see who does and doesn't work tomorrow, specifically when it comes to Mark Barron, to see if indeed that was a veteran day off. But that's the way, Mike Tomlin wasn't asked specifically about him, but that's the way it was framed, and that's the way I'm going to take it until we see otherwise there. Now, missing practice, Johnny Holton with the hamstring, and obviously TJ Watt with a hamstring because he's still on the active PUP, and you've yet to see Alexander Myers, correct, Alex?
Yep, no 33 for him, so that's 3 days with him. Holton has a left hamstring wrap around that leg after practice. He did go through the stretch line, though, and seemed to do most of the things the healthy guys were doing, so I imagine it's a very minor injury. Still going to be careful with it, but hopefully he won't miss too much time.
Yeah, hopefully. I wouldn't probably expect him, who knows, maybe after this mini, day off coming up here pretty soon, maybe he can get back in there. And then leaving practice, unfortunately, I guess about halfway through today, was Sean Davis. And he was kind of holding his right hand, according to some people that sent me some DMs there. Come to find out that Mike Tomlin termed it a finger injury after practice, and Mike Tomlin's not one to speculate, but he sure did seem to, which leads me to believe he probably knows what it is. He said he thinks it's a dislocated finger when it comes to Davis. So, wipe your brow. I mean, that obviously shouldn't shut him down for the season or anything like that. Who knows? Maybe he'll be back on Monday. Maybe he'll get the next couple of days off and then be back on Wednesday after they have the day off on Tuesday there. Am I missing anybody already?
Nope, that's everything. Yeah, I think Davis will probably miss at least a couple of days. I don't think there's a super urgent reason to bring him back. If guys like Cameron Kelly more snaps, we'll talk about him in a little bit. Cam Hayward, James Conner were pretty limited in team drills today. They did practice. They were in pads, but that's just rest, managing their reps, and no need to get those guys hurt there in the first day of pads.
I agree, and as you said, Kelly, as B reported, and I think you were one of the first ones put out there too, after noticing Davis was gone. Cameron Kelly, we're going to have to, it's official now. We already knew coming out of the OTA practices and all that he might be one to watch, and it's certainly, to hear Mike Tomlin talk about Cameron Kelly after practice and all, this is a guy that at this point now you really have to have a serious consideration to be on the 53-man roster, or at least make a run at it, and definitely a guy we're gonna have to watch closely and how he's used during the preseason here.
He's in a good position to do it. He can play safety. He can play slot corner. Tomlin talked about that versatility. I'm sure he'll play special teams too if he shows the ball skills. Got a pick in 7-on-7 yesterday. So, this is a guy that, again, I'm not going to say he's going to make it. We're a long ways away, but he's in position and has a path to do so.
Absolutely, he does. All right, let's start with the offensive line today.
It was good to watch the O-line, D-line one-on-one because even in the team drills, it's so hard to be able to see these guys super clearly. A couple guys that impressed me, some of the young guys, rookies, Derwin Gray, the 7th-round pick, and Fred Johnson, the undrafted free agent. I just like their size, their strength. Fred Johnson's got a really good punch. He's able to sit low in his hips. He's not one doubling over or getting too tall for being a pretty big guy, especially playing guard. So he had some really nice reps today going against Casey Sales. Derwin Gray packs a punch. He put Vince Williams on his butt the first time they went up in O-line, D-line. Just Vince tried to bowl him, and Gray was able to hit him and stunned him and knocked Williams off his feet. So, again, I compared Gray coming out to Ramon Foster, just that big guy, a lot of strength, not the best athlete, but just because he's so massive, it's hard to get around him, and it's almost impossible to go through him. Going to be an asset in pass protection in that regard. So good days, I thought, for Johnson and Derwin Gray.
And Fred Johnson's a big dude, too.
Oh, yeah, 6'6", 330, I think. I mean, he's a big man who can move a little bit. Better movement skills than Gray.
Right, and he's one that I kind of, the first thing popped into my mind was Ramon Foster, although on that right side there with him. So I'm look, that's with Gray being a draft pick, obviously, and Johnson being the highest priority offensive lineman this year. Those are two guys we're most definitely going to be paying a lot of attention to here, not only through the rest of the camp, but into the preseason as well. Anything else? None of the line rotations change?
Well, with Pouncey out today, Finney was first-team center. Patrick Morris moved to second-team center and had a second-team left guard. Hassenauer was the benefactor. He got reps at second-team left guard and third-team center. He did not have a particularly good day today, unfortunately, for him. Really grabby in O-line, D-line, but he got more reps. So they did do a little bit of moving just because Pouncey didn't go.
All right, good. And let's go to quarterbacks then. Ben Roethlisberger was cheerleader Ben Roethlisberger today. Joshua Dobbs trying to give it away, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't like to kill these guys. I know I've talked about Dobbs before on the podcast, but I mean, he's just missing some easy stuff, and that's what I said last year. Look at the Raiders game. There were some easy plays, some ball placement issues. He had a screen pass to McDonald today that went over his head and had a throw in the left flat later on in practice that missed him by 3 yards, went out of bounds. And Dobbs was mad at himself for each play, so I know it's on him and not on somebody else. And so those are plays you got to hit me the gimme plays. I still remember, I know I've referenced this play before, but Landry Jones, his first year, he was trying to throw a swing pass to Dre Archer on the right side and just sailed it 5 yards over his head. And those things got cleaned up. And by the second and third camp, his progress came because of his ability to make the easy play and consistently. You always knew he was going to make the play that was available. And Dobbs is still struggling with that. And in year 3, that's a concern. Today, with Ben not practicing, I tweeted out before practice I didn't think he was going to go, Ben, and he didn't. So that's just his standard schedule. A lot of reps for those guys. I thought Rudolph continues to have better days overall, and Dobbs is struggling with the turnovers, the inaccuracy, and some of the ball placement problems.
Is it noticeable now? I mean, do you see? I mean, obviously you see Dobbs not having good days, but is Rudolph noticeably having the better days? I mean, as far as being, positives with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he has positives. I mean, he's had his fair share of negatives too. I think he threw a pick today. I think that was the one that Sutton got. So, I mean, it's not been all glowing, but it's been more consistent. Just the ball placement, driving the football down the field, short, middle, some of the deep throws, even Rudolph's doing a better job than Dobbs. So, yeah, I mean, it's not incredibly a stark difference, but yeah, Rudolph is playing better than Dobbs 3 days in.
All right, and I'm not surprised by that, to be honest with you. I'm sure you're not either. Okay, running back.
Where do I even want to begin with? Because there's a lot with these guys. Benny Snell, though, I think is where I want to start with it. Backs on backers. I know we're kind of jumping ahead, but first guy in the backs on backers, it's Benny Snell. Tomlin was calling out 24 and saying, Snell, get in there, and he's going against Medikevich, and then had some good reps to end things with a Dayne. Really, the last 3 reps and the first 2 reps involved Snell, the last 3 against a Dayne, and they kind of went back and forth and had some really good battles there. So I like the toughness, the anchor, the technique that Snell showed. I think he was the best running back of anyone that went in there. And then as a runner, showed some burst to win the corner and hit the hole, and the line did a nice job. But I thought Snell showed that burst. Ditto with Ralph Webb and Malik Williams. Now, Williams struggled pretty mightily in backs on backers, but you saw that picture Tim had of that hurdle. And I remember Malik Williams had a hurdle in Atlanta last year. I remember you tweeting that out whenever they signed him to a futures contract. Right. So this is a guy that has some ups and some bursts. So I like these guys. The line created, like I said, but these guys had some bursts to turn the corner and win the edge and get downfield. The run session, that first team session, the offense really won the day, or at least that session, I should say.
And Webb is an intriguing guy we've talked on and off about, not a lot about, but he was with the Patriots last preseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Belichick praised him a little bit that one day.
Right. Belichick has some decent things to say about him. So this is a guy, it's not new to him. This process is not new to him. And you would expect him to hit the ground running, right? Yep. In these first couple of days. So he's definitely a guy, I assuming, there's no injuries or whatnot. I really think now I'm in the mindset. I think I put this in my last 53 prediction as well too. A guy like either Webb or the other Edmonds, Trey Edmonds. One of those two I think are just primed to be practice squad guys. And obviously, special teams, the Edmonds kid probably has a little bit more experience than that. So that's something we're going to have to watch with with Webb during the preseason here. But does it feel like it's those two guys behind the top three and then everybody else?
Yeah, I think that's fair, just both in performance and where they're running. Trayvon McMillan is pretty far back in the group, probably last in the group. But yeah, I'm just looking at my notes here for the run session. Webb went for 17, had another carry for 13. Snell went for 12 on one run. Let's see what else I have here. Malik Williams went for 8, Edmonds for 5, McMillan for 4. Snell for 5, Malik for 10. McMillan was actually tackled for a loss of 4 for the final play. But overall, I really thought both the blockers and the running backs did a nice job in that run session.
All right, and it didn't surprise me at all to hear that Snell seemingly had a good, I don't think to hear them talk, he didn't beat Ola Adeniyi in the backs on backers. I think it was either depending on who was scoring 8. Adeniyi was 8-0, and I don't know how many reps he went against Snell there, but some people say maybe Snell won that last rep there. None of that surprises me. You look at his college tape there, and there was definitely the as I said, the want to when it comes to that kind of stuff, and looked like he knew where it was coming. And I think the big thing that Craig Wolfley pointed out during Steelers Live today was at least with this first backs on backers this year, it's designated, right? So the back knows who's coming at him.
Yeah, was it not like that in the past or something?
Well, I think they were talking like in the past they would line. In other words, they would line two of them up and not know which one was coming.
Okay, gotcha. You know what day it is, kind of the environment. Yeah, I don't know if Snell really won against Adeniyi. I think, again, that last rep that you talked about, but I thought he looked the best because, Adeniyi wasn't even touched by guys like Trayvon McMillan, just running right around him, no problem. So Snell has that 1-2, and it's a drill designed for the defense to win. So in a scenario where the ball's going to get out on time, you have defenders can't just run in a straight line; they got to hit their gap and move around other blockers and stuff like that. Snell, I think, is going to be more advanced than most rookies in pass protection.
That's good to know because that'll be that'll help him get on the field quicker too.
Absolutely.
All right, tight ends. Okay. I have a feeling this isn't going to be that positive, but go ahead.
It's pretty quiet. I don't have a whole lot really positive or negative. Kevin Rader was super crabby in backs on backers. The tight ends really struggled in backs on backers, but when you're 6'8", Zach Gentry, and you're 6'9", Christian Scott and Williamson, that's not going to be their game. So they had their problems. Robert Spillane really just destroyed Scotland Williamson. But in team drills, you really didn't get a good feel. They're pretty quiet out there. Not a whole lot going on for these guys.
I'm praying that all them Denver Broncos backups, Butts and Jeff Hireman and all those guys get healthy. One of them, who is it? Butts? Who's the one coming off the knee injury? Is it?
Jake Butt. He's got 10 career injuries.
Yeah, and I think he just had a setback or whatnot, And they drafted Noah and all like that. I was hoping one of those guys get kind of healthy because the Steelers brought in Jeff Hireman a couple years ago for a pre-draft visit. You remember that? And obviously out of Ohio State and all, but I don't think that's going to pan out there. We'll still keep our eyes peeled. I'm sure the Steelers are too for a potential number 3 tight end here. Okay, wide receiver. It sounds like Deontay Johnson got a little bit more involved. So the rumors of his demise were premature, right?
Hey, I get that reference. Good job. Deontay Johnson, two touchdowns and 7 shots. The last 2 plays from Mason Rudolph. I think he juked somebody on the last one. I didn't actually see it, but he was really, really wide open. And then Deontay Spencer, too, just making some nice catches. I thought Spencer had one of the plays of the day, running a 15-yard dig route, and it was a nice throw by Hodges, scrambling out, kind of coming across the field a little bit, and it was a low throw, but really well placed by Hodges, and Spencer dove to the ground, got his hands underneath, and Lane thought it was incomplete. Lane had really good coverage, and he kind of throws his hand across, making that incomplete motion, and looks back, and Spencer has the football. So I we know that Spencer's fast. We know in one-on-ones he can create space because that's his skill set, but I like seeing that in a football play of him coming across the middle, diving, making a difficult catch, and completing the play. I almost like that more than the speed because I know the speed exists. I know he can win in space, but how can you make those tough combative catches? And I saw that today.
Are they using Spencer any? I mean, are they running any just two receiver personnels and let him try to win over the top?
He's run some vertical routes. He had a 40-some yard completion the other day, and they tried to hit one today, Hodges and Spencer, but they weren't on the same page. It was Spencer ran a post, and Hodges threw it too far outside. But Spencer's lined up in the slot. He's played the X. I mean, he's got some versatility. I don't want to typecast him as just a slot receiver. I think he can move around, and that's obviously a bonus for him.
And he did move around in the CFL, just it was predominantly, in the slot where you mostly see him. But I mean, you do see him in some clips, and I think it is just 2 wide receiver sets in some instances where he was out wide playing the Z. You know, and there
was one today, I think, with Johnson and Spencer both out there, and I think Spencer had to have been the Z. I think you're right.
And he can win over. It's just with his size against some of these bigger physical cornerbacks, it's going to be hard for him to win.
Well, I agree, but when you're playing the Z, you're usually playing off the line of scrimmage, so it's going to help him with his release. If for the X, you got a corner rolled up on you, and plus that Z receiver has got to be that vertical threat, and this guy can win vertical. So I think he's got the potential to really line up potentially anywhere, and then of course he's going to get work in the return game.
Boy, they could use another kid that can get down the field. You know it.
Oh yeah, they got to have this vertical threat.
They could use that, and you sit there and obviously it's just highlights, but you watch his highlights and you get excited, about him. And like I said, I told you on the other part, the rules are different, obviously, where they can get the running starts and all. But I'm really interested to see how he does and what group he plays in the preseason, because I still am of mind that there is a possibility that. If he can win, and obviously it's going to happen with the return job and all, but Rodgers or Switzer, maybe he can grab one of those spots. But it's good to hear you're making some progress there. Boy, I saw one clip that Deontay Johnson's got a heck of a release, doesn't he?
Yeah, he can create space. I mean, go back to what Colbert said numerous times after the draft. Natural separator. That's Deontay Johnson.
Boy, that the first there's not a lot of wasted steps, I don't think, off the line. That's a lot of times where you see wide receivers do that. They were too worried about those initial choppy steps and all that they waste too much time. And yeah, they can get off, but it's a second. Takes them a second to even get 5 yards down the field, at that point. Mm-hmm. So, all right, anything else about the wide receiver group?
Feeling better about Eli Rogers' chances. I guess 2 guys, and now getting a little ahead of myself here, but 2 guys 3 days in that I feel better about making the roster than I did before are Eli Rogers and Artie Burns.
Wow, okay.
Just because Eli's getting from the first team reps, Switzer seems to be running behind him, and then Artie he's playing well. He's playing the best of any of those guys competing for the 6th cornerback job.
All right.
And plus they paid him his roster bonus, and that really helps.
Yeah, that was an expensive interception today, wasn't it?
You tweeted me about that, right? $800K interception.
Yeah, $800,000 interception there.
Yeah, he had the pick in 7. That was a tip pass, but still.
Hey, they all count. We would have taken about 3 more of those last year, wouldn't we?
I would have paid $800K for that.
Yeah, exactly. You think Art Rooney wouldn't have paid $800K for about 4 of those, regardless? Would have made. He would have got that on the back end real quick there. All right. Well, defensive side of football, you talked a little bit about the defense because you watched the offensive defense. Dan McCullers got to watch them illegal hands to the face, doesn't he?
He's a wrecking ball. Patrick Morris just got ran over. Is that what Morris was mad about?
I think so, because there's a great picture on Steelers.com.
Okay.
Everybody should go to Steelers.com and look at the training camp. Hey, you should do this every day, really. Go to Steelers.com and click on the daily training camp photos. And I think about halfway through, you see Big Dan. Looks like he wants to. Looks like he's trying to give him a facial massage or something like that. He got that helmet real cocked back, and it's definitely illegal hands to the face. There's no way, and so that must be the play that you're talking about. Morris must have gotten mad.
This is O-line, D-line.
It's something. Yeah, I think it's definitely Morris. Yeah.
But it's not a team session. It was an individual.
It looked like an individual drill.
Okay, yeah, because twice they went up against each other. The first one, Morris fell to the ground, so that makes sense. Probably got poked in the eye, but they still went again, and McCullers ran him back again. I mean, Morris is like 299, and McCullers is about 100 pounds heavier than that. So that's just how it goes. But McCullers is playing a little bit that fire in his belly, and I do appreciate that. He went 1-on-1 with Banner today. That's like an earthquake. That's 700 pounds.
Holy Lord, that's like superhero.
Yeah.
How did that one end?
Banner won. McCullers tried to bull rush him, and Banner was able to anchor. But with the D-line, not a whole lot to note. Isaiah Buggs, though, I got a good chance to look at him. He's got a quickness. He's got a good first step and some hand use, and he was doing well in O-line, D-line. So I like, the first time I got to really focus in and hone in on Isaiah Buggs, and I was impressed.
For a guy with not very long, not the longest arms, and that, his measurables was one of the things I think that drove him down the board a little bit there. He can get after the passer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got some hand use, and again, he's got some quickness. I know he didn't test well as an athlete. That was another thing that kind of knocked him down boards and sent him to the 6th round. But on tape, when you watch him, he can get off the ball.
I broke down his sacks and all too, or most of them, and pressures or whatnot. He does a good job at twisting and those stunts and being able to time those things and working his way back inside and all like that. So you don't see that show up in the times,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But it shows up on the tape.
Yep, I totally agree.
What was I going to ask you about? Real quick, back to Banner real quick.
Mm-hmm.
We just haven't seen a lot of him. He shows up. When did he arrive in camp last year? About midway through? Was that about right?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And then we didn't really get to see too terribly much of him last spring. Where are you on him?
Well, it's just going to be tough because, like you said, there's so much offensive line talent. He's third-team right tackle. He looks good. He looks in good shape. That's always been his issue. That's probably why he flamed out in Indy and Cleveland, was his weight was a problem. He looks good. He's got the size. The athleticism's limited, but he's still long and big. That just kind of helps him naturally. I just think it's going to be tough. They got a new offensive line coach with Surratt. Maybe one Shaq liked him more than Surratt. I'm not sure. It's just going to be a tough battle. Hawkins is doing okay. He's had some really good battles with the DNA. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But it's just the numbers game, which might be the issue for Zach Banner.
All right, let's go. Speaking of DNA, let's go there now. A heck of a start of the camp for him, and Mike Tomlin said as much. And Mike Tomlin's not one 3 days into camp to start using words like flashing and and all like that. But there's no running away from Ola on the Twitter machine today, and I assume it was the same on the field.
They can't block him, Dave. They can't block him. Backs on backers, he killed it. Hawkins is having a lot of problems. The Hawkins has gotten a couple wins. He had one where he threw a DNA out of the club, but for Hawkins to win those reps, he's got to win early. But DNA is able to kind of get even with him. The battle's over. It's like a receiver and a cornerback. So this dude's flashing. This dude's got serious skills. We know he can rush the passer. We know he can play run defense. This guy's making the team, and there is potential to be a starter at some point, maybe next year. This guy's good.
I'm like that Todd Haley gif on
Getting all excited over there.
jumping up and down. Ooh,
The vapors there.
Me and edge rushers, man.
Yeah, I got a good one. They got a good one.
Keep your fingers crossed. I mean, this is a guy that we've highlighted now. Look, I mean, we've talked about him ever since the end of last preseason.
The first game he killed it.
And the Titans game against, not just a pass rusher too. This is a guy that can set, can cross face either way and then toss people out of the club. Now it was, I think, a backup tight end, obviously in that instance. So look, there should be high expectations on him, and hopefully we've said it in the past and had guys fall on their face, unfortunately and all. But man, in this preseason right here, and the way that Ola ended the last preseason, really all 4 games, right? Isn't that what you were getting to last year? I mean, did a little something in all 4 of them there. Man, if he didn't have that hamstring injury last year, would they have paid Bud the $9 million?
It's a good question. Yeah,
we'll never know.
I try to be cautious and measured with this stuff because it's early. But the one thing I'll say confidently is Ola Adene's making this team. He's going to make an impact in the NFL, probably this year, but sometime in his career.
Boy, wouldn't that be music to you? And yeah, we don't want to get too far ahead. Let's put it to you this way: this is a guy, and we've said it for several weeks, that we want to see a lot of during the preseason, and then let's use the rest of this camp and preseason as the real measuring stick on him, and then go from there. I mean, let's not be. I mean, I can't help it. I mean, the thought has run through my mind. Boy, it'd be nice not have to spend a first-round draft pick on another edge, right? Next year.
Or just a defender in general. It's been 8 years now.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep your fingers crossed there. But man, it's hard not to be excited. Who else is there besides him that's kind of that? And I highlighted those second-year players in a recent post right before camp started, where I said, okay, Edmonds. I mean, the gimmies, the Edmonds, the Washingtons, Allen. I would think you'd have to throw Allen in there with a guy like a Denier that you're really looking to see, what you have there. But it's hard to find a guy that you're going to be more excited about than Ola, I think. And hopefully, once those 4 preseason games are done with, we're not going, man, what happened?
I don't think we will. I think we're going to talk about, let's see how this guy can get involved in the defense. I think it's going to come to that. He's going to force them to play him.
Fantastic. That's music to my ears. I know several people listening as well, too. Sutton Smith, what's he doing?
Been a little quieter. Been still running 13 left outside linebacker. Was pretty nondescript in backs on backers today, so don't have a whole lot with him.
Is this going to be the old thing where, like at the Senior Bowl?
In terms of him struggling?
Yeah, just, getting against better competition, and...
Yeah, again, that's 3 days. I'm not going to be too up or down with him. Just, we'll take it day by day. I want to get this guy in a game. I think games is where he's really going to shine whenever there's that effort, that adrenaline's pumping, and he's got that quickness that some of these bigger tackles might not be able to handle.
All right, inside linebacker, no Barron today. That means there was a lot of Bush.
Yep, Bush and Vince Williams working the ones today. I thought good days for all of those guys. They held Vince out of backs on backers today, which I'm mad about. I wanted to see Vince welcome some of the new running backs, but probably smart to hold Vince out there. Let's see what I have.
He's like a caged lion, probably. Can you imagine turning him loose on Friday Night Lights?
I hope so. But Vince got after it in the run drill, the first run of the day. Although the offense won the run session, he went in and stuffed Jalen Samuels at the line and drove him back, 5 yards backwards. Robert Spillane, like I said, did well in backs on backers, working against Christian Scotland Williamson. That's probably the biggest thing that I have. Devin Bush almost had his first pick today, jumped the pass to Dobbs down the seam. That was intended for Juju, but dropped it, unfortunately, which I want to clean up.
Is there a better tandem of rushing inside linebackers in the NFL than Bush and Williams?
Well, Bush has got to. I want to see him do it first.
Right, obviously.
I know his background. I know what you're getting at.
I mean, college. I mean, what we have is college, but he sure was able to get after the quarterback.
Yeah,
that way.
and they've been blitzing Bush, and then they blitz all the inside linebackers. That's one thing they want to do is be able to, bring that extra guy. They can still rush only four, if they're a nickel, but and drop an outside linebacker and bring one of the inside guys to give that different look of them up the B gap is what Keith Butler likes, and he does a good job scheming that up. So yeah, I think Bush will be able to get after the quarterback, but I'm not going to go that far because I want to see something. I want to get to a preseason game before I start anointing best at anything.
All right, no hyperbole there, but who's playing strong? Who's playing weak?
I keep forgetting the look. I'm sorry. We might have to wait for a game for that because it just happens so fast. So I know that we know that Williams has been the buck, and I assume Bush has been the Mac. But like I said before, I think it's becoming much more interchangeable than it used to be.
Sure. It's not as stringent as it used to be because they'll move the H backs and the fullbacks around, and
motion they put the tight end.
Right. They'll catch you however they want to catch you anyway, for the most part. But I mean, it will be something we'll look forward to once we start charting and all like that. All right, secondary.
I thought the secondary, and Tomlin said it in his presser, but I noted it all throughout my camp report. They tackled well. It's unfortunate they had to tackle as much as they did in the run session, but you had Hayden. Lane had a great tackle for loss in the last play of the team session. Herb Waters got in there. Steven Nelson, all those guys. Cam Sutton even had a really nice tackle on Benny Snell off to the left side. So those guys were willing to tackle. I like that. Brian Allen, I heard he struggled in the one-on-one receiver DB. I did not watch that group. I was watching the backs on backers. Again, that's an environment that's tailored for the offense, but I heard Allen struggled there, and he got juked really good by, who was it? I think it was Malik Williams in the run session. So I know Allen had that really nice first day, been a little quieter the past two.
And Artie MVP, right?
Dude still played well. I had that pick today. Like the competitiveness that he's shown, the effort in run defense, had a tackle on Benny Snell early in the run session today. So he's been good. I'm not going to lie. He's been good.
Now, I read something, I think, from Mike Pursuta. Did they hold did Hayden get like a half a day and then Artie first one up on that side?
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Hayden was in team session. He was in that run session, so he did do more than, like, let's say Cam Hayward or James Conner, but I think halfway through practice, Hayden bowed out. They took him out, and Burns was getting first-team reps at left corner.
So it does seem like potentially that Artie's first man up right now.
Currently, yeah, he's been running second-team corner when Hayden's in there, so he gets elevated to the first team. I mean, that's just the logical step. But, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that Burns has been at left corner, though, because he's always played right corner. I don't know if there's – I think that's maybe cross-training him to be the backup at either spot because obviously he's comfortable at right corner, so they're saying let's get him more comfortable at left corner. So if Hayden were to go down one day, then we just move Burns to the left corner spot.
Well,
so
be careful how you use comfortable.
Okay, fair enough, but possible that we move Burns to the left corner. That's just me trying to think through it.
You can stand in a garage. Don't make you a car.
Hey, you're the one who had Burns on the roster.
I know. People are going to hate me.
Yeah, you should be happy. These are good.
Look, I'm just trying. Look, this isn't what I want to do.
Sure.
The whole name of the game of what we do in our roster predictions, at least with me, and I'm sure it's the same way with you, is to think what the Steelers might do.
Yeah, and I've been the grim reaper of obscure defensive backs making it. I have Alexander Myers on my 53, and he hasn't practiced. I had Jack Tocho on the first one, and he got cut like 3 days after that. So don't listen to me with DBs because it's a bad omen.
You're trying to be too much of a contrarian, aren't you?
I think a little bit, but
all right. Like I said, I don't like holding people to that stuff unless they're wrong and I'm right. All right, what else do you have for us? Any other drills? Anything else kind of stick out to you today?
Well, with the safeties, Cameron Kelly just getting those first-team reps. Not that he was particularly special or negative, but just getting those reps is really important. It moved, I think, Dangerfield and Locke up a spot. Or Dangerfield, I think, went second team next to Marcus Allen. Locke was still third team. I thought Locke might make an impact today with the pads on because he's that heavy hitter, but he's had Sands dropping a pick in 7-on-7s. He's been pretty quiet.
All right, let's end it this way. You've had 3 days of camp practice here. No hard don't draw any hard conclusions or anything, but name me 3 guys on each side of football that you're really super duper stoked about seeing in the first preseason game.
Oh, wow, put me on the spot. Well, the easy ones would be like Deontay Spencer on offense. Let me go Benny Snell just because, I want to see this guy work. I'm excited to see him go. And then the third one, I'm going to go with Fred Johnson because I was really impressed today, and I want to see more. I want to see if he can translate that to a game situation. I think he's going to play well defensively. Of course, a day and eight. I mean, that's I think a given at this point.
We're gonna have posters of him on the wall for it all over with, aren't we?
We absolutely will. I'll go with Isaiah Buggs. I guess I'm just going with the young guys, but that's natural because I want to see how the young guys that haven't played before, barely played before, work. And then who was the one I just thought of? I just lost Sutton Smith. Because I think he's going to be a better in-game almost than he is going to be a practice player.
All right, fantastic. And you'll be back out there for the fourth day in a row on Monday. And after that one, then, of course, the Steelers will be off on Tuesday. You and I will be back at it again Monday night with another one of these podcasts. Fantastic job, and I know you had a lot to write today, but I'm sure it's well worth it. People can check that out on SteelersDepot.com. Obviously, you should be following Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. I'm less interesting during training camp practices than Alex is. Really, overall, I'm less interesting than Alex.
I don't know about that.
On 9 days out of 10 anyway. You can send us an email, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. We got a few more donations in as well, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
We love you. If you're up for that, go to SteelersDepot.com and hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Alex, tell the people about Lynn Testa and touring plans.
Yeah, they've been a sponsor of the site for several years now. Really appreciate their help. You can visit them, touringplans.com. If you're planning a trip to Disney, I'm sure a lot of people are doing that for the wintertime when it's nice in Western PA right now, but it's going to be 20 degrees and snowing in a couple of months. So I'm sure people want to get away. If you want a group that's going to help you kind of get squared away and do it within your budget, you want to go to touringplans.com.
Thank you for painting the picture for me today, Alex. I certainly do appreciate it.
You are welcome. Yeah, if you haven't checked out the report, it has the log of every single rep on backs on backers, every single rep O-line, D-line, and then every single play in team drills today. Again, yardage is being charted. That'll be kind of fun to calculate throughout the year.
All right, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.